Hey, this is Chaz Cascus.
And this is Paul Furio.
And this is Cascade Improv. And you are tuning into another wonderful episode with a conversation with the one, the only, the actor, the director, the writer, Joe Guppy, who is one of the founding members of Unexpected Productions, and I am going to confidently say one of the founding members of Seattle's improv scene at large. Welcome to the podcast, Joe.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the amount of work that we've gotten to do in the last probably decade together, on the UP stage and off, it's just been
in your classroom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was so fun.
It was total fun.
That was great.
Yeah.
I guess first off, I would love to just know how'd you get your start in improv?
Well,
because looking at your bio on your website, your theater credits date back quite some time as a young writer and actor. But when did you first get the bug for improv?
Well, specifically improv, I'm going to indulge what came to my mind, okay, which is my mom would talk about me putting my ear right up to the radio, like just listening to the radio, and then I would imitate the commercials. And there's one particular commercial called for these back pills called Doan's Pills. There's this guy. I've actually heard the ad. Yeah. Where this guy with this really deep voice talks about Doan's Pills, and so even though I had a little tiny kid's voice, I would try to imitate the Doan's Pills, and I probably don't even remember or didn't even know what Doan's Pills even was. So I was picking up some kind of. I've given this some thought about, my ear and how early I think that kind of thing starts for musicians and for improvisers, for actors. So that's how I started. I was imitating radio commercials in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, what a start to stardom.
And then my brother and I used to do neighborhood shows and that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
And then we got a tape recorder. We got a little reel-to-reel tape recorder, like Mission Impossible, the original Mission Impossible. There's a little tiny mini reel-to-reel tape. So we got one of those, and then we started doing radio commercials or little plays and stuff. And that was improv. Because it's not like we were going to write a script or something. Right. So my brother and I would just do these little. I guess it'd be a little radio show where we'd have commercials, and we thought we were hilarious, know. And
I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, and just that that element of connectedness. Yeah. Especially for young people, just being able to collaborate together on something. Right. And I think that that relationship of artists is so delightful that of course kids just make stuff up and they're just laughing and giggling because wow, we're making something.
Yeah, in fact, I do remember. I probably only remember one particular thing, but it was about this it was an ad for this cheap toilet paper. That it was so cheap your fingers might break through. And that was the kind of poop humor that really appealed to me at that age.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah. But from there, I was mainly, I guess, a writing person.
I was going to ask what kind of came first. Was it writing or acting?
Writing definitely came first, mainly because I was so shy. I couldn't imagine somehow being on stage. I did that stuff when I was a little kid. Yeah. But I guess as soon as I became a teenager, I just couldn't conceive of acting. There were other kids who were actors. They were in the theater program and stuff, or in high school I'm talking about. And I just felt totally intimidated by that.
Yeah.
But I did do actually a little bit of interpretational reading, kind of a thing, where I could have a script in front of me.
Yeah.
But everything I did was comedy, and that wasn't what they wanted. Was somebody emotionally breaking down, in interpretive reading.
Yeah.
And the stuff I did was I did stuff from like the National Lampoon. I was actually reading out of the National Lampoon.
Funny.
And I never won any prizes for that.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. Comedy's always second fiddle to tragedy.
Exactly. We don't. Where's my Oscar? But but then so I was in college. Then I started to write comedy for the paper or for the newspaper. So I was an editor of the newspaper, and then I discovered this magic to writing. And then it's like people are talking about the stuff I've written in the paper, and they're yelling at me. In fact, I yelling across campus. In fact, I did this one. This wasn't really a joke thing exactly, although everything I did was kind of humorous in a way. But I was talking about Margaret Mead, the anthropologist, and how she had discovered that certain societies in the Tahiti or someplace like that she had studied, that the women didn't have any menstrual cramps and didn't have any during their periods. They didn't have any pain or any of that stuff. And so this one friend of mine, female friend, yelled, like I just remember she yelled across campus, "You cured my cramps, Guppy!" And a moment like that, you just
you'll hold on to that forever.
You just keep, and that just you just keep going.
Yeah. What is it about comedy that's always kept you sort of polarized in that direction instead of really wanting to go into that sort of more dramatic and more? I don't want to say serious, because I feel like that always has such a loftier connotation when really it's just
it's it seems like there's just two kind of people in the world. Some in a certain sense. I mean, somebody like Adam Sandler, can act his ass off. And let me tell you my Adam Sandler story, by the way, at some point.
Okay.
But Adam Sandler is a very good actor, and he's also totally hilarious comedian. But there are some people like that. But I think that it's just almost an instinct or something. Comedy seems to be more. People don't go to Juilliard to learn how to do comedy, even though a lot of people that can do really good comedy, went to Juilliard. But let me give you an example. Speaking of Juilliard, because a friend of mine went to Juilliard, and so when I was on Almost Live, and he had done a couple of bits on Almost Live also, but he was a real actor guy who went to Juilliard. So I did this bit. It actually won a Northwest Emmy Award, but it's called 70s. It's called 70s Clothes. Okay, so this was in the mid to late 80s, and so I went out on the streets of Seattle with this guerrilla camera team, which is one cameraman and a producer. And I was dressed in like disco clothes, like full on the high heels, the tight pants, the open shirt with the chest hair and all that stuff. So and big floppy collar, right? So I really stood out as looking very different. And I just went up to girls and tried to hustle them, like, "Hey, babe, you want to go to the disco tonight?" And I don't know that you could do that today, but a lot of them really got into it. It's a great piece. So anyway, and the editing and the music, I mean, the guy who shot it and edited it's just fantastic. I highly recommend everybody check out 70s Clothes on YouTube, or it's actually probably on my website, joeguppy.com. But anyway, the point is that Jeff, the Juilliard-trained actor friend of mine, asked me, like, how did you develop that character? Like what was your process to be able to? Because it certainly was a character.
Yeah.
I mean, it was this guy from the 70s who's hustling the chicks, and I did all my body language and the way I talked and all, "Que pasa, baby," and all this stuff. But it's like, I just did it. I mean, and I'm imagining you as comedy people. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I just did it.
Yeah.
and that kind of wasn't his. It wasn't really his understanding of how the work was done, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting how much process is made. And this is speaking as someone who's very like, I love artistic process.
Yeah.
And I worry when people get so hung up on process that really they think that the process is the destination and the process isn't getting them to a destination. Right. And sometimes I wonder if that like dramatic process, like, we're unpacking a lot. We're understanding this character. Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. But I think there's also a lot of just giving myself permission to be this person and getting to the point where I'm confident enough to then present this, where I think some of us who are in comedy don't always need that same process because we're, I don't know, just ballsier or, you know, like just less concerned about how we appear because we're coming from it from a clown's perspective rather than from, you know, something of a more kind of like, I don't know, I want to say like priestly, you know, like sort of that side of what theater or theos is.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that piece, which was, and there's other pieces like this where the man on the street stuff that I've done for Almost Live, you know, I'm improvising with the citizens is really what I'm doing. And it just occurred to me that, you know, I had 7-8 years of improv experience plus 10,000 hours on stage doing improv with my improv company for 4 years and before that as well. So I don't have any. It's kind of like point a camera at me and I'll do anything. You know.
Sure,
You know. I'm for whatever reason I'm very relaxed. Just like I'm very relaxed on stage. And I'm not necessarily relaxed in real life or you know, in certain situations or whatever. But as soon as the curtain goes up or the camera turns on or something, I'm very present. I don't know what there's some kind of Zen thing there, or some kind of meditation thing that's related to it, I think.
When did you finally cross over from just being a writer to stepping on stage? And I'm sure there were times where you were asked to be on stage and you maybe like reluctantly kind of did that. But when was that something that you were like, I'm excited to do this. This is a decision that I'm making, and like it's part of my identity now. You know,
I have a very specific answer for that, and it was I think it was senior year of college, and I was asked to host a talent show. Now, I had done an improv class, and I really liked improv in the theater department. You know, so I enjoyed that, but there was no performance connected with that. But anyway, senior year, I don't know how this happened, but maybe it's because of the comedy I'd written or something for the paper. I don't know what. Not really sure why, but I ended up co-hosting this talent contest, and so we had to do these little bits in between the acts, and we planned. So I remember the one thing I can remember is we did this thing where we were a rock band called the Sex Penguins. Yeah. And we had like big furry hats and stuff, and mittens and electric guitars, you know. And anyway, it just really gave me the bug getting the live laughs, you know. Yeah. And then I took another improv class with this guy, and that's the whole. By the way, that whole story is all about the beginnings of how improv came to Seattle, and then how theater sports developed and all that. That's a story. And you let me know when you're ready for that one.
Oh yeah, all right, yeah.
But anyway, I took an improv class with this guy who'd come up from the Bay Area, and he did a bunch of classes at the University of Washington Experimental College, which was kind of a hippie thing.
Yeah.
And the Experimental College was kind of a hippie thing. But anyway, took this improv class, and out of this series of improv classes he did for like, I don't know, a couple of years, quarter after quarter after quarter, there came this group of folks who were kind of continuing to jam together and rehearse together, kind of let's keep the ball rolling. And every class of his ended in a performance at this legendary coffee house in Seattle called The Last Exit on Brooklyn. which is on Brooklyn Avenue in the University District. But anyway, at some point, there's like maybe 20 people who had kept it going, and it was like, well, let's do an improv group. Who can do an improv group? Who can do and out of that came Off the Wall Players, which was one of the 3 improv groups that came up in Seattle right around 1980, and the rest is history. And then of course, so do you want me to talk about the 3 improv groups?
Yeah, I do.
Please.
Yeah,
okay. Because I, as part of my prep for this, I talked to Keith Dahlgren.
Okay.
Who was one of the 3 groups was called Play It Where It Lays. That was his group. I also talked to Dave Klein, who was another one of the Off the Wall Players. And I did not talk to anybody from None of the Above, although Matt Smith I talked to almost every day, and he was in None of the Above.
Okay.
We're really good friends.
Yeah.
But so these 3 groups kind of sprang up at right around the same time. I mean, I think maybe if you check the history of the United States of America, you'll find that improv was like a virus spreading across the United States. In fact, there's a book called The Compass.
Okay.
It's like an early history of improv, because The Compass was one of the original. I think Elaine May and Mike Nichols were part of that. May have my facts all wrong, but there's a little family tree in there, and it stretches across the United States, and my lineage gets down to San Francisco with this group called the Committee, and there was another group in the Bay Area called the Wing, and I think Del Close worked with both of those groups, and the guy that came up to teach from Seattle from Bay Area to Seattle was with the Wing.
Okay.
And I compared notes one time with Greenberg. Is it
Ed Greenberg?
Ed Greenberg, about going all the way back to where did this? I was trying to figure out where this guy came from, who was with the Wing, and that's what he told me about the Wing and the Committee and all that. Because the Committee was where the Herald.
I was going to say, and Ed worked with the Committee.
Yeah.
I was in an interview with him. He came to UP, and Randy and him had an interview.
Right.
And he told a story about when he was there when the Herald was named.
Yes, I was in that audience.
You were?
Well.
Okay, yeah.
And I probably talked to him backstage afterwards.
Yeah.
And tried to get the story of like where did I come from, Daddy?
Yeah.
and it was because it was from this other group that Del Close was apparently working with. So anyway, so our group, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dudley Riggs' Brave New Workshop, but that's from Minneapolis. That's another one of the branches. Okay. Yeah. And so Mary McCullough came from Minneapolis to Seattle as a director, and she's like, I'd like to direct a comedy improv group.
Yeah.
And we had our little group together, and we said, well, why don't you direct us? And that's how that was. And she brought in Dave Klein, who was a friend of hers. And so we were there. We were in Seattle for 4 years, like a rock band that somehow stayed together. You know? And we were killing it. I mean, we played Bumbershoot every year that we were in existence.
Wow.
And by the end of it, we had a cult following, and we'd sell out pretty much all our shows. And we did a set of sketch, and then a break, and then an improv set. Yeah. And that was kind of the strength that we had that the other groups did not have. And
was the sketch writing.
Yeah. And that's where I really honed my craft of learning how to write sketches. But
how often were you guys performing?
We did like 20 original shows in like 4 years. It was just ridiculous. And we rehearsed like 3 nights a week. But that's what you do when you're young and stupid or whatever.
And you got time.
And plus your rent. There's another thing that nobody wants to hear about, but your rent is like $100, $150 a month. Yeah. And you're working. We're all working kind of part time and living in Wallingford for $150 a month. Yeah, I know.
Those are the days.
Joe Guppy.
Yeah.
But
Never felt such a verbal kick to the nuts.
yeah, I mean, certainly, everything was cheaper back then or whatever, and we didn't make much. We also were making, I don't know, $8 an hour or something like that. But either way, it was more hospitable, I think, to the underground art scene, so to speak. And then the other nice little story along those lines is that Roberta McGuire came in from Second City, Second City, Chicago. So at the same time, for whatever reason, and then she wanted to start an improv group, and she got with people who were more actors than we were. We were more, I don't know, whatever we were. We were improvisers, I guess, before there were improvisers. And but anyway, these folks were more theater actor people, and they became None of the Above, and then there was Play It Where It Lays. So when Keith Johnstone came to town, I guess previous to that, Keith corrected me about this, that Roberta brought in theater sports before Keith came. And
interesting.
Apparently, she must have gone to Loose Moose, Calgary or something, and taken the workshop, and then she brought it to Seattle. Like, hey, there's this cool thing that this guy invented or something. Yeah. And so we started doing theater sports. Okay. The original was at the Peking Theater, Peking Restaurant, Chinese restaurant in downtown Seattle. Randy has the poster. And that's how we started. And the original concept was we've got these 3 improv groups, which is about a total of less than 25 people that are the people in Seattle who do improv. Yeah. Well, we can do this together. It's something that we can. So the teams were mix and match, and so Keith Dahlgren, myself, Kobe Schelt, and Barb Benedetti, who was also with. Kobe Schelt was off-wall player. Barb Benedetti was Play It Where It Lays. Yeah. And so we played the very first theater sports show ever. Wow. According to Keith. And I believe him, of course. But I didn't remember that particular detail. But we were called the Mortgage Commandos. That was the name of our group. And it was the very first theater sports game ever played, not just in Seattle, but in the United States of America. Yeah. So that's a bit of history.
That's a thing that's a feather in your cap right there.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So flash forward not too many months. This woman in town named Anna Marie Collins. By the way, rest in peace, Barb Benedetti. Rest in peace, A.M. Collins. Both of them passed away way too young. But these are theater giants that I'm talking about right now. Yeah. Seattle theater giants. But A.M. Collins, who went on to write Angry Housewives, which was the longest running show ever in the history of Seattle, longest running musical show. Played New York, played Chicago. It was a very successful endeavor. But anyway, she was a producer who could actually get things done. So she brought Keith Johnstone to the Pioneer Square Theater to do this workshop, the notes of which
we're holding right here, and we'll make sure I'll snap some pictures and we'll post it with the episode so people can see your handwritten notes from Johnstone back in the early 80s.
So to me, this was my memory of when theater sports started, and it probably, in a certain sense, is the start of formal theater sports because all the group members from the 3 improv groups were all at this workshop, and we got trained by Keith over a weekend to how to do theater sports, Keith Johnstone style, and we went from there.
Yeah.
How did that transition from people across 3 different improv groups at that time to essentially Unexpected Productions owning theater sports?
Well, so this is something that I can sort of guess at, but I guess I was not there for that. Now, so somebody like Matt Smith could tell you, Floyd Van Buskirk, Josh Conescu. They're the ones who could. There's also who's the. I think I'm naming like different people who were head of it for a while. There's a woman who does Bay Area theater sports. Whose name's escaping me. She's an old timer, old theater sports. Matt just mentioned her name the other day, but I'm not coming up with it. But anyway, they're the ones that could give you the details on that. Because I'm thinking of my own history. So I started Almost Live in 1985, and that's
okay.
So that's when, and the way that worked is Off the Wall Players were doing this video stuff for a show called Rock Entertainment Videos, which was on King. It was called Rev. It was on King 5.
Yep.
Before MTV, some genius at, I mean that seriously, at King TV realized that there was all this free content, music videos, this was something happening, and why don't we take that free content and we'll do some local music and have a local host. In fact, one of the members of Heart, the guitar player for Heart, Roger Fisher, he was one of the hosts. And as long as we're doing this thing, let's have some comedy. And so Off the Wall Players, we did little comedy bits in between the music videos. And then the Rocket magazine, which you may or may not have heard of, but for like 20... Can I just say that grunge would not be grunge without the Rocket magazine?
Right.
The Rocket Rock and Roll magazine, which was edited and published for most of its years by my good friend Charles R. Cross, again, rest in peace, was the engine that drove grunge in Seattle. They're the ones that were like, we'll cover local music. Yeah, you got your Alice in Chains, you got your Nirvana, you got your Soundgarden, you got your Mudhoney, Mother Love Bone, all that. They would give respect to local original music, because prior to that time, Seattle, like many cities, was all about the cover bands that would do national hits, even though there were there was a certain group. Okay, now I'm getting into the music and we'll talk about improv. But anyway, along with the music videos, they would do this thing called the Rocket Report, which was very funny. That was John Keister, and Keister was a journalist. Okay, but he discovered, hey, I'm funny on TV. Right, and so then when they started another genius, or maybe it was the same genius, I don't know, at King TV, when they started Almost Live, they brought Keister in, and then Keister recruited me because he knew of all the Off the Wall Players stuff, and it was funny because I kind of had there was a theater attitude, like, well, I don't really do TV, so I had this kind of slightly superior attitude, which is just ridiculous. But once I went on, he put me in a couple of bits, and we did this parody of aliens called Alien Gumbies, and I just loved being on the set so much, and it was, and I just discovered, I'm really good at this. I mean, I was more of an actor than John. I mean, John was amazing. I mean, he was a tremendous performer, tremendous writer, really funny guy. But I think he recognized that I had more performance experience, which I did, So we did a lot of great stuff together. I hope he never listens to this because, no, I love you, John. I love you, John. You're amazing. But as far as Almost Live goes, which was on the air for 15 years in Seattle, and was on Comedy Central for two runs.
Really?
It was national. So there are people all over the country that know of Seattle, and that they kind of think that Renton is kind of funny, but they have no idea what Renton is, or Ballard, because they watched Almost Live nationally on Comedy Central. Yeah.
You're single-handedly the reason why Renton has a bad name.
Not me, but Almost Live. But what I just wanted to get back to improv. Sure. Okay, so a lot of the pieces or some of my favorites, my favorite Almost Live pieces, are pieces that John Keister because he would come in with these hand-scrawled outlines, and this is no disrespect because really good sketches, but there was no dialogue. So he and I would improvise the dialogue. He would just say, "We're going to say this, and it's going to go like that," and so we did a number of pieces like that. And I don't know if you guys know Pat Cashman. He's another comedy icon from Almost Live, and he had a radio show. He's amazing, amazingly funny guy. But he was the same story. We'd do bits, and it'd be like we'd improvise the actual dialogue. So the piece I really recommend is called Plumber. Okay, Plumber by Pat Cashman. And then there's one called Can I See Jill, which is John and I improvising. Just top quality stuff, if I do say so myself.
How many takes would you guys do generally?
We probably did, 3 or 4, something like
takes,
that. Not a lot. But there's this one just where Pat's performance is off the charts. And he would, he did it like so different each time. And when he rolled this one, everybody there was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's the one.
And if we could play clips or maybe after whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm talking about visual stuff. I'm talking about verbal comedy. I can't really do it justice, but but it's amazing stuff.
Well, we'll have to collect a few links and put it in the bio, the show notes. That'd be great.
I saw Pat give he did the opening speech at a conference that I talked in. Just very funny. And then, I told you before, I'd worked with his son.
That's right.
Chris, at Microsoft when he was doing hosting for a live video game show.
Yeah. Talented family.
Very.
So you were saying that there was like 3 main improv groups.
Yeah.
And I'm getting this impression that like sort of early 80s, maybe late 70s, but early 80s, improv just sort of like almost materialized in the Seattle area. Was there any like what sort of like sparked that? Do you remember?
I'm trying to I'm thinking of is there any analogy to this? Like we're just the hula hoop gets popular. I don't know.
It's just trend.
Just some trend was going across the country that had started in New York and from I think there's a New York to Chicago, and to San Francisco. And you could say it's just like this really fun thing, right? I mean, of the 3 people in the room here, there's 3 people in this room, right? Do we think improv is fun?
Very much so,
I think the 3 of us do.
So that's what that's one way to look at it, is that it was just this fun activity that was going across the country, but it came in from, like I said, it came in from Minneapolis, it came in from Chicago, it came in from San Francisco. I mean, that's 3 streams that now the thing, Play It Where It Lays, they were more homegrown. They were just Northwest people. They started with Seattle Children's Theater.
Oh, they did.
They were a group that was out at Seattle Children's Theater, and then that's where they just decided to start doing improv. But what Keith made a really interesting point, which was that we kind of taught ourselves, and we did not get trained. We did not audition. We did not have any, and I'd never thought of this, but I did think, well, that's different. That's a different thing. I don't know what it means, but there was no, Unexpected Productions or Jet City Improv or something with level 100 and level 200 and level 300 and gee, I hope I want to make it to 600 and then I can finally get on stage. And we were just like, we're fucking going on stage. But I mean, Keith was kind of like, our attitude was, I don't know, it's kind of funny. Sorry, I'm just reflecting, and I don't mean to be a jerk about it or try to be set us apart or something. But almost like we'd go like, who the hell are you to tell me that I have to audition or that I need to go to 100 and then 200? Well, fuck your 200. You know, I'm doing this thing. You know? So
I mean, that leads me to just like wondering about like what were some of those like early tenets that you guys held as early improvisers, especially if you're not being passed down information, that information was passed down and passed down, you know, like there wasn't this like, well, from on high, I read this book from Sharna who talks about, you know, like if we didn't have that terminology, like what were the things that...
in all fairness, I mean, we were trained by this guy who was from the wing, the committee, you know, and it was an 8-week class, I think.
Oh, okay.
But
wow. So
so we were trained in that sense, and we were trained in yes and. God, I wish I'd brought under pressure. I probably won't be able to remember them, but there were 4 things that were our watchwords. So there's don't deny. The last one is when in doubt, go to your where. One of them is make assumptions that advance the action. And I don't know what the other one was, but it might come to me. Yeah. But we did have these 4 rules. And don't deny. There's a fascinating discussion of on improv for humans. Bessler, what's his name? You know, with one of the old school guys about yes and don't deny. And one of the things that I came to the conclusion is that yes and is great, but there's something about don't deny. And there's one of the legends, Svern. You know who that is? He's it's a first name of this guy. This legendary guy.
Oh no!
So the rule is if Svern, I'm probably butchering his name, Severn, something like that.
Yeah.
If he says he has
is it Ted?
Could be Ted. Yeah.
Okay. I know. Yes. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Too bad we can't Google everything instantly. But if Severn says he has a bunny in his hand, he has a bunny in his hand.
Yeah, that's part of the Westminster Kitchen Place rules. Elaine and Ted Flicker.
Yeah.
It's Ted Flicker. Okay. They're the 2 who wrote that.
Okay,
and they were part of the committee.
Okay,
down in St. Paul.
Okay.
That's where that comes from.
Okay,
that's in
the kitchen rules. That's exactly right. So one thing that even though there was something about don't deny, that even though it's stated in the negative, that struck me as being like, let's not lose that. Let's not lose that idea of don't deny. Yes and is terrific, but let's not lose don't deny.
I have been circling on that a lot as a teacher, and I'd say the last 2 years in my improv journey is coming to, because there was a moment during the 2015 when yes and suddenly got a little bit vilified because it suddenly became it was part of a little bit of the Me Too movement.
They were using it on a Super Bowl commercial at one point, and I thought, okay, well that's
something.
Improv has arrived. You know?
But it was used in a way of you have to say yes, you cannot say no, and it started to become a real issue with consent.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so yes and started to get sort of pushed away, and I think a lot of us who had been doing improv for a little while and were teaching it were starting to get a little bit itchy about not wanting to say yes and so kind of teaching away from that, and that don't deny became a really, really lovely a return to that teaching.
Right. So and because it was with the Me Too, is you're not trying to tell, I mean, just the flavor of Me Too is I'm not going to just automatically yes, whatever the suggestion is, right? Right. And so don't deny means that you present me with a reality, and I can say, I don't like that or I disagree with it, but I don't deny your reality.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the heart of it.
Yeah.
That's the heart of it. Yeah, because I took a workshop from Johnstone, which was not the same workshop that you took. Yeah. But
because you weren't born yet.
I wasn't alive. But I took a workshop from Johnstone, and he was like, I hate yes and. He goes, people should say no. Say no on stage. People say no in real life.
Yeah.
And he goes, and furthermore, ask questions. People can ask questions.
Yes.
He was just so ornery about it. But I mean, the point was like, stop taking these options away from improvisers.
Right.
And I think there was a little of an implicit understanding that like the rules are there for a reason, but the rules have become overbearing. Yeah,
it's really the principle behind it. So I mean, I don't know if you Severn, hey, I got this rabbit in my hand. You can not like the rabbit, or you can put the rabbit in a pot and boil it, or some negation of what his character is trying to do with the rabbit. You just don't say that's not a rabbit. That's the main idea. And then as far as what was the other one you were just talking about? The don't ask questions. So the instinct behind that, as we all know, is hey, what do you think this is? That's why don't ask questions, because I'm forcing you to do my
I don't know.
work.
Seems like improv. What do you think it is? So what are we doing? I don't know. I'm starting an improv scene. What the hell are you doing?
But other than that, there's no reason you can't ask questions. You just don't ask questions as a way to evade the specificity of your offer. That's what it is,
As my fiance likes to say, don't give someone a gift that's a chore.
Yeah.
Oh. Marie, I'm quoting you. I'm taking that, and you will be in my repertoire of quotes that students think I'm really pretentious for using.
But another part, if I may take over the interview for a second, because I was thinking about this, is that I'm quite fascinated by my return to improv in like 2015. After periodically, sporadically doing stuff with Matt Smith, over several decades. Every once in a while, I'd like to do a show with him or something like that, but very very sporadic. I mean, when I went into TV, I was no longer like deep into the improv world for quite some time. Even though, I mean, I don't want to sell myself too short. Or just say that I was completely gone. But then 2015, I got out of the therapy business, because I was a therapist for quite some time.
Yeah, you were a therapist for a while.
Which was also cool because I did a lot of improv stuff with group work and that kind of thing. I brought it in whenever I could. I taught a teen anger management class, and I taught an anger management class at the inpatient Salvation Army facility. It's a very, very hardcore addicts were the patients. But anyway, I would do improv exercises and improv groups and stuff, which was very, very cool. But I burnt out on the therapy business in like 2015, and retired from that business and started to get back into kind of the art world, and it was just very, very organic. I just started dropping into these little improv drop-ins. They used to be at the theater down at this Seattle Center.
Okay.
Was that theater at Puget Sound or whatever?
TPS.
TPS. So anyway, folks were just renting space and doing improv there, and And so I just started dropping in just as Mr. Anonymous. I didn't bring out my resume or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just started just hanging out.
How fun.
And
that had to have been so fun. What was that like? Kind of almost infiltrating.
Yeah. It was super fun. And I was pretty rusty. I didn't know all the new games and all this kind of stuff. And so I just fit right in as this middle-aged guy who's showing up to do improv with us, but there's one moment I remember when we were doing this this bit with where it's about Mr. Whiskers, Whiskey River, and what's the Misty Mountain or something.
Yeah.
And it's a Zip Zap Zop, I think, is kind of what it was.
Yeah.
But to make the ball go in different directions, you or across the room, you would either say Misty River, Mr. Whiskers, or Whiskey Mixer. Whiskey Mixer, right?
Whiskey Mixer. Yes, and it was all tongue twisters.
Yeah, it was all tongue twisters that you had to get right, and that would send. And I think you went like Misty River this way, and that shot it back this way, and so so if you made a mistake, you had to run around the
yeah.
So here I am, and how old am I now? I'm thinking 2015. I would have been. See, this is 2025, so it was only
26. It was 11 years ago.
So it was only about 10 years ago. So I was like 60 years old, right? Right? And I'm running around the circle and Whiskey Mixer and all this stuff. And I thought, if I'm going to keep up with these kids, I better up my game. And it was exhilarating, exhilarating to realize that I can do this. I can keep up. I can keep up with these kids. I remember when you taught the warm-up game with the cat, the baby, and you die.
Now you die. Not today.
And I just love that one. When you're the one that turned me onto that one, and.
Yeah,
this is new to me. What is this?
See, this is endless fun. Am I right?
Endless fun. That was an old warm up that I used to, and I did for a little while, and I don't know why it fell out of favor. I think it probably fell out just over COVID when I was doing everything on Zoom.
Now, we got to bring that one back, buddy.
That's a good one. Yeah. It really is actually a very, very good one. The way it works is everything has a call and response. So just like pass the clap, instead of just I clap. And, eye contact and clap. You pass the energy by throwing a knife. The one pattern is you throw the knife and you say, now you die.
That's the third one, though. Because you got to introduce it with the baby before we get to the knife, right?
That's right.
So and you bring it across the group. Remember, you're in a circle and you take the baby and you bring it to the next person. You say, look at this beautiful baby.
Yeah.
I'm hijacking your bit, but I love it so much.
So the first one is you have a baby and you go, look at this beautiful baby, and that's the call. And then the response, if you receive it, is the person says, oh, such a beautiful baby. Yeah. Oh, look at this beautiful baby. Oh, such a beautiful baby. And you just pass it around the circle randomly.
Yeah.
So that's
and you're literally walking across to someone and
you don't have to. No, you don't walk. You just
don't you? You walk across. You walk it across. I think, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, you don't walk it across because you want it to be really, really fast.
Okay. So you're just indicating it. Across, and the baby magically goes across.
It's a teleporting baby. Yeah.
Okay.
A temporal baby.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So what a beautiful baby.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. What a beautiful baby. Oh, I think it's what a sweet baby. Oh, look at this beautiful baby. Oh, what a sweet baby. What a beautiful, and you go, and that's how it passes around, and you just pass it around kind of as quickly as you can. Yeah. The other one is a cat.
Right. Yeah.
And you say, is this your cat? And then, and you sort of hold it by the scruff of the neck and you go, this your cat? Yeah. The other person, so that's the call. And then the response is, not my cat.
Oh, no, it's my cat. Because you take the cat. I think it's my cat.
Oh, I thought I remember it being sort of passing it around like, this your cat? And then you take it and you're like, oh, not my cat. This your cat? Not my cat.
Okay, but you do take the cat.
You do take the cat. Okay. Yeah. It's not my cat. And you pass that around, pass it around.
Else. Yeah, okay.
And then the last one is a knife. It's a dagger that you throw around, and it's, now you die. And then you catch it right in front of your face, and not this day, and then you throw the knife.
And are these three going on all at once?
And you start to get you build up to all of them going.
You throw so you're doing all of them at once, and the catch to the game is you can't send any one of these to the same person.
Right.
So you can't, because the cat will scratch up the baby, and the knife, you don't want to throw the knife into the cat or throw the knife into the baby.
Right. Got it.
The baby can't do any harm, though.
I don't think, but the baby will have harm done to it,
yes, exactly.
regardless.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's such a silly, dumb game. And when you've got like 9 people, God, I'm doing this in my next class. Yeah. Joe, I'm so glad you reminded me of this damn game. It's so good.
And the other one my other favorite one is a Bunny. Bunny. You get Bunny going with a bunch of people that have never done it before, and it just kills. Yeah.
So here's one of those really opinionated questions. Yeah. So you pass around the bunny, and then you've got the rhythm of the coo, ha. But then when the 2 people on either side of bunny are the ears, what is it that you say?
Tookie.
Yeah, toki.
Yeah.
And the reason I found out that was the correct reason and everyone else is wrong, and you can fight me. You can email cascadeimprovpodcast@gmail.com.
Who says it's not tookie? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of people who are like, they're like, oh, it's something else. But I was teaching it, and I had a student who goes, oh, that's Korean for bunny, of course. And I was like, oh, there it is. This is the definitive answer. Everyone else in this improv warm-up will be wrong if they say otherwise.
That's funny, because I thought I heard that it was like some German word.
Oh, interesting.
That means something. But I never heard that they were the ears. They're the ears of the bunny.
That's what I was taught, is that they're the ears. Toki.
What the thing that I love to say when I teach this one is you got them all going hoo ha, and they're doing bunny, and that's all working well. And then I say, the person who's receiving the bunny, that's a high pressure situation. They got to take the bunny, they got to give the bunny, and they really need some support. Oh. So so on either side of it, to give them some energy, tookie.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of the tookie.
Yeah. I was taught that those are the ears of bunny. Yeah.
Well, it can be both.
It can be.
It can be both and, yeah.
But it can't be anything other than tookie.
Yeah. Definitely has to be tookie.
I'd like to inform our listeners who just tuned in that improv is not a cult.
But if you play that game, you will be confused. You will begin to think otherwise.
Well, this is going to draw a lot of people to improv classes, because they're going to go say, what the hell? Whiskey mixer and the thing with the knife and bunny? What the hell?
If there's anything that I've wanted out of comedy classes, it's whiskey mixers throwing knives into babies and cults.
Improv for teens. Sign me up.
Sign me up. So I do want to get into your return into improv, because I think what a wonderful vantage about the improv scene in Seattle. Yeah. But still kind of talking about some of those earlier days of unexpected productions. Right. What was theater sports like when it was still made up of these 3 companies, and what did that sort of dissolving look like before it kind of became like, oh yeah, we're one company under a banner? Because I understand that it wasn't necessarily a company, but it was like a committee, and like I think we talked with Ron, who talked about we'd be in these meetings where we'd all sit down and be like, well, what do we vote on? And everyone would like bitch about it for a while.
And Keith was talking about that also, and I think I was probably listening to Ron's podcast here where they said, well, we need an artistic director. Wasn't that what Ron said? Yeah. So, see, those guys are more qualified to talk about that. I can talk about what the very first theater sports was like. Yeah. But I guess I just don't know much other than what I've heard about the transition. Yeah. One of the things that I remember somebody probably on the podcast talked about was how dumb we were that we well, I challenge you to arms, and there'd be like two scenes.
I was just going to ask about that. Yeah.
which was dumb,
Yeah, because then you'd have to see two goddamn alphabet scenes right in a row.
Right.
Like we've already seen it.
Exactly. But the idea was, well, we're competing to do the best alphabet scene. So
was that something you guys learned from Keith? Was that what he told, or was that just something that you guys just did?
That's a great question. Why it was like that, and I don't remember when. I'd like to think we got away from that before too long, but But I do remember that going like, yeah, that was a dumb thing. Why would we do that? It's much better. But it was a blast. I mean, the early theater sports was really fun, and we definitely drew an audience, and we drew a different audience than that came to the sports. Came to the theater shows. Because Keith's instinct, was people love sports, so if I can make improv like sports. So we played Swanee's comedy club for a long time, which was just a straight up comedy club with stand up comics.
What were the improv scenes like? Like, how were the improv scenes then different than they are now? And maybe they weren't.
That's a really good question. There's a little tiny fragments of video of off the wall players doing improv scenes, and I haven't seen them for a while. I don't know how different they were. I mean, I would venture to say modestly that. All three groups were very good improvisers, and we did very high quality work of different flavors, and then this is just random thoughts, but Roberta McGuire, after None of the Above, she did a thing with Ed Sampson and Matt Smith called Seattle Improv, which was 3 people, and they would practically do like psychodrama. I mean, they were. It was deep stuff, It was deep theater, deep kind of experimental theater in improv.
Yeah,
very, very cool stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that you asked how it's different. So one of the things that we used to do as part of our bit on for off the wall players, we would do story die, and of course now we're all very gentle and kind to each other, no bullying. But back then,
I still have my audience say die.
Do you?
Yeah, I'll take every note. I will discard every note I'm given about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, back then,
you hear that, Tony Beeman? I discard every note.
We heard. We got the audience to scream really loud, die, and modestly, again, I'm trying to be modest somewhat, but a lot of the times we were all so good at story, die, which is delightful, when you pick it up in mid-syllable and all that kind of stuff, that we would have to take a dive to deliberately fuck it up so that they could all yell die. But we would do these elaborate deaths, our deaths would just go on, and I just remember, kind of a peak experience, I guess, in life, you might say, of we're at New City Theater, which back then had bolted down seats on three sides, and it was like it must have been 150 seats at least. It was definitely over the 100 limit, whatever union rule that is, because that wasn't a thing back then. So it was 150, 200 seats, and I just remember standing out there ready to do my death. It's like total silence, and I've just got these people in the palm of my hand, and then I'd do some elaborate death. And I guess I'm sure this was unethical at the time, but I would sort of write them in my head somewhat in advance. I swear I never scripted a death, but I kind of had ideas in my head.
Well, if you know that there's a bit that isn't informed by anyone else, and once again, the ethics of improv, not saying that we should do that, but there's almost no harm.
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's bits that, there's kind of a recurring bit, that, give me a break. Greg Stackhouse and Susie Simpkins are doing in the sketch comedy show where they play two like bad stand-up comedians, like they're a comedy team, and they come out and tell bad jokes and stuff. So they do that every time. Now they're not doing the same material, but the rhythm to it, the characters and stuff are the same. So yeah, I think it was fair for me in my own head to kind of shape a death, but yeah, just.
I don't think the improv police are going to be knocking down your door.
Yeah, but all of us would really get into that die thing, and then doing the death.
So funny.
Yeah, and we would drag them out, but the audience they just ate it up. Yeah.
Sometime, and not on this podcast because I'll bore everyone to death, but I'll have to tell you about when I rebelled against a stage manager who, when we did Story Dies warm-up, required everyone to have some elaborate death.
Oh.
I'll tell you all about that, but I was ornery about it. I was ornery.
Yeah.
And so... Unexpected Productions is starting to form, and as UP is kind of starting to solidify and take shape, that's when you kind of started with your time in with Almost Live and writing with them. And did you write with them for the whole 15 years?
No, I was there for the first 3.5 seasons.
Okay,
And I don't know if you know who Bob Nelson is, but he's a screenwriter.
Okay.
He had a big success with a movie called Nebraska that was written by or directed by Alexander Payne. Mm-hmm. Bob's known as like the nicest guy in the world, but I've had him talk at my comedy writing classes before and stuff. But he so all I'm saying is the guy was nominated for an Oscar. We watched him on TV. There's Bob. He didn't win, bastards. But no. So that's
the nomination is the point.
That's the heights to which Bob has gone, and he's worked with. He continues to work with Alexander Payne actually, but. He still says the best job I ever had was Almost Live, and there, I don't exactly say that, but it was amazing. I mean, when Nancy and I went to L.A., so that's the whole other story, and the short version is that Ross Schaefer went down to take over for Joan Rivers. So Joan Rivers left her late night show.
Yeah.
And they needed somebody, and so they brought in Ross Schaefer, who was the host of Almost Live at that time. John became the host, and Nancy and I were still on the show for another season with John as the host, with Ross in L.A., along with a good friend of mine who was one of the producers, Scott Schaefer, no relation. Anyway, at one point he said, not necessarily the news, which was a HBO show. Yeah. They're recasting. They're like resetting. And so get your tapes down there. So I sent my tapes. And so I had all this man on the street stuff, which was kind of like news-oriented interview kind of stuff. And I got the job. So I left Almost Live as you would. And so I landed in L.A. with like a Writers Guild job, which is just unbelievable.
That's the dream.
Yeah. So I mean, so many people, even Joel McHale, who has had tremendous success, or I don't know if you guys know John Billingsley. He's another local actor that has done well. But they still had to land there and start auditioning and all that. Yeah. And I just like got off the plane and I'm in the Writers Guild.
You had a gig.
And I've got a HBO job. So that was just wonderful kind of thing. And then Nancy and I were writing partners, which was great because we were either going to never see each other or see each other all the time. Yeah. Because the hours that you work in the writers' rooms of Los Angeles are just insane. Although I guess that's maybe changed a little bit. As a friend of mine who's just got on a new show. You guys know Family Guy? Yeah. There's a character called Stewie. Yes. So Stewie has a spin-off, and this friend of mine is on the writing staff, and I asked him, are the hours like they used to be? And he's like, no, we kind of work 10 to 6 and then we go home. And I'm like, wow. Because back then it was kind of the post-cocaine years in Los Angeles. And the hours were just insane. And but the great thing was you got 3 meals a day, you know, and good stuff. We'd order from local restaurants, you know, where's the menu, you know, and all this stuff, because they'd feed you because they didn't want you to leave. You're just working all the time.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah, right.
But you know, like Nancy has said, you know, quote, that's where I learned to write. I mean, I had quite a bit of experience before we went down there, but yeah, again, it's that 10,000 hours idea. I mean, I had to write so many scripts, and then we became supervising producers. So now we started out, of course, as lowest on the totem pole, and then it's like all the people up the food chain, those jerks, you know, what are they? They're ruining my work here. They're ruining my brilliant work, and then we got to be the supervising producers, like right underneath the executive producer, and now we're the people that are ruining
all their work.
That won't work. That won't work.
Just shred it all.
Red pencil.
Got to cut that for time. Got to get our Kroger commercial in here.
But I tell you, there is something just like super fun about the writers' table. You know, the legendary writers' table of sitting around and punching up the script, and you go page by page, and you know, this is stuff I teach in my class. You know, we go through it and punch it up, and and then we do this other thing, which was like track the characters. So you just focus on one of the characters through the entire 30-minute script. So and so. You know, they need to be alive. They've kind of died out. We got to give them a line in here to keep them involved in the script if they're supposed to be in the scene, right? Yeah. And are they consistent? Is their voice consistent? And stuff like that. Yeah. It's really.
When you say punch it up, what were some of like those things that you would like be aware of? Like what were some of the tools that you would implement for that?
You know, it's just joke writing, you know, because there was supposed to be like 3 jokes per page, you know, which I mean that was the old. I think that's old school kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I don't know if they still have that. Maybe they do. But and then there'd be the resentment against the punch up guy, because they would hire like joke specialists who would come in for a day. Like, who's this jerk? And then he'd be in the you know, for a 6-hour day or something. He'd come in getting paid more than we were to sit back there and go, well, what if he says da 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 da, you know, or what if she picks up the flower vase, you know. And
like, great joke, buddy. Thanks a lot.
But I'm going to totally freelance all over the place of Hollywood stuff. So, you know how canned laughter? It's called canned laughter.
Yeah.
So it was my pleasure and privilege to watch a guy come in to sweeten the track of something that had been filmed in front of a live audience, right? But the live audience maybe wasn't quite cutting it, right? They weren't laughing quite enough. So this guy comes in, and he's like in LA, or I'm sure I can't possibly be any different, because I just watched the Studio. Just it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
But there's a one guy in town, and in those days he had this like cart that he came in like on a hand truck, and it was this recording equipment and all these cassette tapes of different types of laughter, like the giggle track and the titter track and the guffaw track and all that, and then he works his magic at the board, you know. I mean, to watch this guy, I mean, it's just priceless. Watch him. The laugh comes up, and then the giggles dry down, and all this, and he's like an orchestra master,
mad scientist.
Sweetening the laugh track.
Yeah. I remember being a young artist watching some sitcom and realizing that I was like, this laugh track is canned. Like, realizing it for the first time, like, oh, this is like, this isn't real. And then suddenly that like jarred me, and I could not watch anything with a laugh track without considering how lame the script actually is without this fucking laugh track. And then just seeing I was like, what the fuck are these people laughing at? I'm like 17 and disillusioned by all TV media and just it was wild. They would set up a punchline and then they would deliver it, and it would be really lame, and then they'd have this laugh and I'd be like, it makes it seem funny. This is perfect. Terrible. This is manipulation at its finest.
And the problem with my time in LA, and we were down there from 1989 to 1992, was that I guess I was ahead of my time. Would that be the word? Because there were, our agents kept, write a spec script for this or that show. And can you get on the staff of this or that show? But there was no shows on TV that I thought were any good, with the exception of Seinfeld and The Simpsons. Okay, and I actually did write a spec script for The Simpsons. That's a whole other story. But there were so many really lame shows, and I worked for the guy. We did a sketch comedy show with a guy who ended up being the executive producer of Friends, which was a very successful show. Yeah. And I worked directly under that guy, and we were we were friends. No, that's not the correct. But and so the most natural thing for me to do would be say, "Hey, Kevin, can you give me a job on your show?" And if I had successfully pulled that off, we wouldn't be here because I'd have my own island.
Yes.
I'd own my own island or something. But I don't like Friends. I don't think it's think it's funny. So
there's a good article about how the rise of Friends ties with the downfall of Western civilization.
That's great.
But today, there's so much quality comedy being done, it's which is great, just fantastic. And plus, there's all these opportunities. You can do a YouTube show or all this stuff that people do. That's what I love about doing my comedy writing class. Which, by the way, I don't know when this is going to air, but
when's the next one? How often are you teaching them? How about that?
I'm not sure. I'm kind of bringing it back. I was really busy for a while, so I'm bringing it back now after about a year of not doing it. And it starts July 17th.
July 17th.
Saturday, yeah. And I'm not sure if I'm going to offer it in the fall. I probably better figure it out pretty quick because for all I know, they're already printing the catalog. But anyway, one of the things I really like about that is the students, we talk about, I bring in sketches to use as examples. But then I always tell them one of their assignments is bring in some of your favorite sketches. And then I find out about all these terrific sketches.
That's great. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm sure we could probably order this in such a way that it'll come out before July 17th.
We don't have too fixed of a schedule.
Yeah. Cool. So when you were learning from Johnstone, what were some takeaways? What was Johnstone like when you were learning from him? Because I remember what he was like when I was learning from him.
What year did you take?
I took a workshop from him in 2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he was younger.
Great. Next question. Okay.
I remember it as being just mind-blowing, and I'm trying to remember if we had already read Improv. So I've taken about 3 workshops from him over the years. So it's, sometimes they kind of blend together, but I just remember it was just, it's just mind-blowing. He just took you to a different level. And if you read the book, maybe if you read the book and you take the workshop, I don't know what it is, but he is really remarkable. So some of the things that I remember, and we were talking this a little before we started rolling here, this thing about people come to the theater. I mean, it's on one of the very first pages of the notes that we were alluding to, that people come to the theater to see what they're afraid of in real life, what what they don't want in their own life. They don't want any trouble. They want everything to be just fine.
Yeah.
But they come to the theater to see people in trouble. So that's what you see. A play or whatever. It has to have conflict and all that kind of stuff. Well, improv is unique. So you could say in a play, we come to watch the play or movie, and we see people that we identify with, they're like us, and then trouble starts. All the way to somebody gets murdered, in a murder mystery or something like that, or thriller or whatever. Zombies are eating people, But I don't want zombies to be eating people in my life, but I'll go to watch. People want to see people in trouble. Well, the thing about improv is that, yes, while we're doing our scene, while we're creating a scene, we're going to want to create some trouble, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The audience perceives the improviser just standing there as they're in trouble, because the premise is we don't have a script. We don't know what we're going to say.
Yeah.
So if I say to you, what's this thing in my hand? No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But, is this I say to you, is this your cat? There's a question that has a... So they know that you didn't know what I was going to say. And they're all of a sudden say, Chaz is in tremendous danger because Joe just handed him a cat out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What's Chaz going to do, right? So they already see us as in danger. And this is what I just remember Johnson saying this: as long as you don't act scared or as if you're afraid of the danger, they relax and enjoy themselves because they enjoy seeing their fellow humans in danger, but safe.
Yeah.
Almost like a roller coaster where the roller coaster is getting your heart racing and screaming around the curves, but you don't want it to actually go off the track.
Yeah.
Right? So in that sense, it's a magic trick in a way, and I think he probably said this. He must have. It's hard to remember what something that I kind of extrapolated out of it, but there's a certain magic trick to it. And the other thing that's so great about improv in this exact same sense is that it's a win-win as long as we don't show that we're nervous or scared or something, because you can totally screw it up, and they really enjoy the way you handle the screwing it up.
Yeah.
Or if you do it brilliantly, they really enjoy that it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you can't lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that reminds me, today I was just having a conversation with another improviser, Nina, and she was talking about this idea of trust on stage. And she was like, yeah, I was watching a group and she was like, it dawned on me how much trust between scene partners makes such a difference.
Right.
And she goes, and I think that's the difference between amateur improv and improv that just feels good and polished.
Right.
Is that young improvisers still they exude this lack of trust in themselves and their scene partner, and they're nervous about what's happening, and they're trying to do it right. And improvisers who just have some more years, they demonstrate that trust, and they have trust in themselves, and no matter what you're given, no matter what you get, or what you were giving, like there's that trust there already, and there's that relaxedness, and what you just said about Johnstone's note of like they improv is dangerous enough, and so if we just don't treat it, if we're not scared of the offers, how that puts them at ease. And I'm feeling a synthesis of those two ideas.
And the analogy that he used from the animal kingdom was beavers. When there's danger, they slap their tail. One of the beavers slaps his tail onto the water, and then they all scatter and run into the beaver hut or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so don't slap your tail on the water is basically what he's telling all the improvisers.
Yeah.
So don't show the audience that there's danger, that you feel in danger, because then they will, like the beavers or the deer, when one of them smells a lion, the audience gets nervous and panicky, which is, if you think about it, is actually amazing. I mean, it's mirror neurons or something like that.
Absolutely.
And the way that we are connected, because the improvisers really aren't in any danger whatsoever. And even more so, I'm sitting in my chair. Why am I in danger? But if the improvisers act as if they're scared and nervous, then here I'm in my chair and I feel like I'm in danger, right?
So good.
Yeah, it's really cool. I did want to, this brought to mind something that I've often brought up in my improv classes, and I know you and I have talked about it again, but I'd like to get you on the record this time.
Okay. All right.
We are
Now
recording.
it's permanent.
No. So
I gotta say it right.
this was in a happy hour show, and like I said, we've talked about this before, but I'll just describe it for our listeners at home. So it was during a happy hour show, and it was like lights went down, previous thing had ended, lights come up, and I walked on stage from one end of this one side, and you were in the other side, and you came forward, and we like looked at each other. We just made eye contact, and we were kind of like standing, and for a inordinate long time, we didn't do anything, but just look at each other. But of course, we did do something, just like in French telephone. You know, you can't not do something.
Yeah.
And there was some energy passing between us, and the audience. I could tell that the audience was into it.
Yeah.
It was just quiet. They're kind of like, "What is happening here? What are these guys going to do?"
Yeah.
You know, and then somebody who, in my view, did not trust. From the wings.
Okay.
Yep. Of course, it's great to support from the wings. That's awesome. But in this case, somebody went da-da-da, woo woo woo. The spaghetti western. Thing, like they're trying to help us out.
Yeah.
So now we've got a showdown. You know, in a spaghetti western. And I just could have killed that guy. Fortunately, I can't remember who it is.
That's good.
But I
have a few guesses.
I always wondered.
That'll be off the record.
I always wondered what would have happened to that scene, because there was something I thought really special happening there.
Yeah.
And I want to know where it would have gone if somebody from offstage didn't. So we're gonna have to recreate that sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. We'll plan it out. We'll talk about it beforehand.
In fact, I'll script it out.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
No, but I always wondered, like, what if somebody didn't feel the need to define that, and if they could have just held with that energy, whatever was happening there, what would have happened? I mean, you see, this is the thing that pisses me off about it, Chaz. This is Joe Guppy and Chaz Kaskas on stage doing something
together.
You don't have to worry about
That's right.
The scene needs to be saved.
Yeah, Chaz Kaskas is in safe hands with Joe Guppy.
Well, and vice versa. Joe Guppy is in safe hands with Chaz, and the audience is in very safe hands.
That's right.
With the two of them.
That's right. What a sweet baby. What a beautiful baby, this audience that we're carrying. That's right.
Right. We're not throwing knives at the audience.
No. Yeah. God, yeah. That reminds me of an old Randy note that he would give, where he'd say an audience is willing to listen, or an audience is willing to sit through. He said they're willing to sit through silence for 3 minutes, and they're willing to watch absolutely nothing happen for 60 seconds. He goes, you can just trust it. They'll watch silence for up to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it was in that class or if it was later I was talking with him about that note. And he kind of sort of like was like, yeah, it's a little like, I'm being a little bit glib about that. He goes, I don't think you could put a clock up and at 3 minutes, then they'd start getting restless. You have to feel out your audience.
Right.
But it's this idea of it's far more time than you would ever allocate.
Absolutely.
You know, of just a blank stage.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, I always frame that story up as kind of negative, like this guy from the wings, you know, ruined our moment of genius.
Yeah.
But to put it in a more positive note would be to notice that that we did hang out there for, I don't know how long we did.
Yeah.
But stuff was happening. We did not say anything. We did not move very much.
Yeah.
But there was something was the scene. Something was going on.
Yes.
Right. And the audience was into it. Which is, I guess, I'm just trying to reinforce your note from Randy, which is that, and I would submit that you and I were present. We were present to what is occurring in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's all that it needed. You know?
Yeah. And I think for me, I can speak to that idea of presence being when I'm in that moment. And you know, like those moments right there, that's pure free fall where we haven't no word has happened.
Right.
We maybe got a suggestion from the audience, or maybe it just fell from one scene to the next.
Right.
But we're sitting there, and that process, that internal process that I'm going through in this moment of, well, what do we do next? What do we do next? Isn't, oh God,
Right.
what do we do next?
Yeah.
But is instead, what's already happening? What's
Yes.
already happening?
Right.
And just starting to figure out, like, oh, what parts of the core or crow are we getting from? Am I getting from Joe?
Yeah.
And what is it? What are those feelings that are in me? And just like recognizing and reading those things.
Yeah.
And knowing that unless I get a strong impulse saying, oh, this is what's happening, then I can just stay there. And I trust you and I trust myself that that until that certainty just arrives for us, I get to be certain in this free fall, and that the audience is sitting there doing all the storytelling, and they're doing the same work that we're doing. And the fact that we're not worried about it, we're not nervous about it, they're also not nervous.
Perfect. And, you know, it was... I hope I haven't said too many egotistical things, but, you know, I've been...
You've got at least 10 more. We've been counting. You've got about...
You know, I have logged a lot of hours on stage.
That's 9 more now.
And I can, feel the audience, and I knew that they were. But you know, that's another interesting question to bring up about what is the role of the audience in improv. What are they doing? Because if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be happening. You know, I mean,
it's rehearsal without them.
We can rehearse, and that's great. But there is some kind of interplay that's happening, which is kind of mysterious because I'm not really sure. So I don't know what. Well, I don't know. I guess humans must give off little signals. It's like, how did I know that they were really? I could tell they were into it. I could see they were attending to what we were doing. I knew that, and I didn't never looked at them. I was just looking at you, right? But I just knew it somehow.
Yeah.
But we must be sensing stuff from the audience, just constantly, right?
I tend to focus on the non-laughs. So the laughs I think of as just breathing. Like if you're aiming for something that's supposed to be slightly comedic, the laughs let you know you're alive.
Right.
But the things that guide me are anytime someone goes, oh.
Oh, okay.
Or if there's like, ah.
Nice.
Or the sounds that are, okay, I've reached the audience emotionally on some level.
Yeah.
Okay, that shapes like this has more weight than I thought it might have previously. But for me, it's just like the laughs are just air. But the other reactions are, oh, that they're interested in this relationship.
Yeah.
That comment had meaning.
Yeah.
That is pushing a plot forward. Okay, now subconsciously I'm thinking, what do I stress?
Well, that's terrific because I suspect that I have a subliminal sense of that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to become more conscious of that.
I think all good performers do. Like regardless of what medium you're in, if you're doing live performance. Because, our minds are racing when we're up there. And they're moving at like double normal speed. But you probably already have a subliminal sense of it. And whether you're conscious that like that is helping you guide the direction you're moving in or not, like it's still happening.
Well, I'm sure that was something I was picking up on. I remember when I learned to hold for laughs. That was the note. I remember when that was a magic thing when I figured out how to do that to hold for laughs. But yeah, thanks.
So you eventually got into doing psychology and psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
What were the tools that you brought from improv in there? I know you already talked about like some games that you'd bring, and I'd love to know like what are the things that you brought into that. But then I think I'm more interested in what are the things you brought from your practice as a therapist on stage and into your writing.
Yeah.
Other than naming people and diagnoses and using that for comedic value.
Do you guys want to know your diagnosis, by the way?
I'd love to. Yeah,
okay.
Just ask Matt's wife.
I went to this program at Seattle U, which is called Existential Phenomenological Psychotherapy, Psychotherapeutic Psychology. And the reason I chose that program after looking at like 4 different programs in the Seattle area was because it was the one that was most kind of literary, artistic oriented. Mm-hmm. And so in a certain sense, you can't get much closer to improv than the idea of being with the client in the space, and that we were just trained relentlessly to just what we call bracket our presuppositions and just be with the client. So it's also there's a certain element of meditation. There's a certain dare I say, Zen Buddhist or Buddhist kind of, or contemplative. I mean, there's a contemplative tradition in most spiritual paths, actually. Probably all spiritual paths have a contemplative tradition. But that was very much part of it, and I recognize that as that's similar to improv. And then if you think about it, I mean, I guess any conversation is improv, right? We're not running off of scripts, but particularly when you're trying to attend to the client, it's improv, if you will.
Yeah. Well, it's such deep listening.
Yeah, right. Deep listening. That's exactly right. Yeah. But I never thought much about what did I bring then from the psychology world back to improv. I guess I've never really thought much about that, but I suppose it's the same. It's similar stuff. I mean, it's phenomenology is the observation of the phenomena as it appears. That's kind of the definition of phenomenology, and improv kind of is phenomenology.
Well, that goes to what was the Johnstone note that we were talking about just earlier beforehand, which is the more obvious you are, the more original they mistake you for.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if that isn't just like a simple explanation of phenomenology, right? I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Of just making an obvious statement.
Well, and of course I know that like Matt Smith, is one of the oldest improv teachers in town.
Yeah. Still going.
Still going. In fact, I'm kind of sub for him in a couple of weeks.
Are you?
Yeah,
good.
But I mean, he's a great improv teacher. Teaches at Freehold now. But he's always like aim for average. He says try to get a C+. That's how far he takes it. C+.
Yeah. That's dare to be dull.
Dare to be dull.
A Johnstoneism. And
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about our minds going really, really fast, and the thing that we've all heard, I'm sure, is how can you think that fast? You guys are so funny, you're so clever, and I suppose there is a certain, I don't want to deny that we must be kind of clever, funny people, kind of, right, sort of, but we don't start out. How can I be funny?
Or if we do start out that way, that gets kicked out of us pretty quickly when you realize that's not doing us any service.
Real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
of all the sounds I don't want to hear from the audience, it's.
Well, you tried to make just a pun.
Yep. Yeah, like, ooh, that won't fly here.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Gagging.
Yeah.
They call it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad when improvisers are rewarded by a cheap audience, for gagging, and then they develop bad habits.
Develop a bad habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, I love just a good gag out of a scene.
100%.
When I'm anticipating that it's going to get like a real dumb groan, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that I'm doing, like, generally I'm doing that because I'm like, yeah, I want the audience to not like this character, and I'm like, yeah, this will be fun. Yeah, of course, this is going to be like something the audience is going to be like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you guys have the experience of a character that sort of speaks for himself, where you go, where did that come from? I never could have thought of that.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that, but the character said it. And that's very, very frequent. I think a very frequent experience.
That came up when we were talking about No Strings Attached, and the difference between like what are the puppets allowed to do that a person would never be allowed to do.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things I like about doing Shakespeare live, because I can be 10 times more a villain as a Shakespearean character than I would ever want to be in real life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought of an example of a scene I was doing with Rich Hawkins, and I'll never be able to recreate exactly how it worked, but how it went. But we started out, we were like in a museum. Again, this will sound probably somewhat incoherent, but I'm accurate as to the bullet points. We started out in a museum, and we're looking at this like abstract painting, and somehow the scene kind of wound around and went and talked about a memory or something, and when he was a child, and he came into the lunchroom and dropped his tray, and everybody applauded and laughed. And then it just came to me that the mess on the ground for the lunch tray was an abstract painting, like the painting that we started out with the scene.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I'm going, wow, that's really pretty smart, or that's to hook the scene around from the very beginning to the end like that.
Yeah.
But and of course, I mean, again, how many do I have left?
Down to 3.
Yeah, down to 3.
But actually, I say this I'm trying to say it in terms of the point that we're making, that I just went, wow, that's really good to hook that abstract painting to the lunch on that, like, but I'm kind of like, who did that? Because I did not think it up.
Yeah.
Right. And the abstract painting was like way earlier in the scene, like consciously I would venture to say I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't tracking the elements of the scene, and all of a sudden it just came, and what it was I saw it on the ground. I had seen the painting, and then when Rich dropped his tray and the mess went on the floor, I looked on the floor and I saw,
the abstract art.
The abstract art.
Yeah.
Dave Pasquazi has an interview. Get out of here, Paul.
I can't. You've mentioned his name so many times, but since like Ben laughed at his name, is like, that's not a real name. That's all I think of whenever you say his name.
I know. Yeah. I knew that was the reason too. But Dave Pasquazi, part of TJ and Dave out of Chicago, he has an interview with Radio Lab. It's their episode called Improv, and he talks about his character being like very other than him, and he'll talk about like, oh yeah, well during the show my character did, and he'll be talking with non-improvisers and they're like, Dave, that was you, and he's like, I guess so. Yeah, sure, I guess it was me, but that idea of these like very foreign ideas coming to you and sort of being this like this download or whatever that is, that moment where you're so present and your character just says, oh no, hold on, I have an offer for you, right? And it's not that I Chaz Caskus am so fucking creative, but instead like I just like was partnering with this character that I met today in this little short form scene, and they went, "Oh, hey, by the way, Joe, this is that. Yeah. That's remember that abstract art? Yeah, that's that's this." And you go, "Oh, cool, thank you for that information."
Yeah.
I'm curious about how much of improv is looking at a cloud and seeing a rabbit versus doing sketch where you find a pearl and you just keep polishing and polishing and polishing.
You mean like writing a sketch?
Yeah.
That's a good question, especially since I'm currently in a show where we're called Funny You Should Say That, which is like a sketch. It's supposed to be modeled after almost a variety show, or like the Carol Burnett show. We're not trying to imitate the Carol Burnett style, but the idea that the pieces are sketches, and then there could be like a song and dance number and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the exploration of how do you do improv shows or improv scenes that resemble sketches. As if they're kind of, can we make them look like they're scripted sketches, right? But that's a deep question. I mean, you have a sketch idea. I'm just trying to think of how sketch ideas are developed when you know the.
Well, you pack a bowl. And then once you light it and inhale real deep.
Those are the post-cocaine days.
Yeah.
And then you find the rabbits in the cloud.
I guess since this is improv, we'll go with whatever comes to my mind, and you can edit it out. So maybe this is more about what it is to have a comedy point of view, which Isaiah was talking about how when you just see comedy everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Right. When he was talking about that. So I'm at this licensing place. I need to transfer the title of a car title, right?
Yeah.
And the person I'm working with is like no sense of humor at all, just like totally. And so when I signed a piece of the title, I started to write the date where I was supposed to write my name, and then below that write the date. So I cross out. So I had crossed out the date, and so she's like, when you cross out on a title, that invalidates the title. I'm like, okay. And then what do you do? She whips out this form. It's a statement of fact, and I have to write on this statement of fact form. I accidentally started to fill in the date where I should have written my name, right? And
that would be stapled.
She's kind of dictating this to me. So I don't want to, my life is in her hands. I really want to get this thing done and pay the thing and get my new title, right? And I don't want to, but I just start like kind of giggling, and then I just because I thought on this form, darn it, and I scratched that out. She whips out another form. When I was filling out the statement of fact form, and then I messed that one up, and another form comes out, and I don't know, I don't know where it goes from there.
A Matryoshka doll of forms.
But I realized, okay, so I'm writing this little sketch bit in my head right now, and it really cracked me up. But and then of course, I start thinking, could this be a real sketch? Is it just kind of more of a one-liner, or one?
Yeah.
But I got laughs out of you guys for it because it's funny, right? Yeah. Right. So does that answer your question? Of course not.
Yeah. No, it does. I mean, when you're talking about the abstract art and the spilled lunch, I was thinking about how good our brains are at pattern matching.
Yes.
And how much of improv is here's an offer, here's an offer, here's an offer, here's an offer. And then at some point we're trying to figure out like how do these things tie together. And when we find like the magical connection between them, it's art. It's beautiful. And it happens in the moment. Versus, I think what you're getting at with the sketch writing is you're purposefully looking for the one unusual thing.
Yeah.
And then you're advancing and advancing and
right.
advancing.
So when a sketch idea comes to you, it kind of comes as a what if, It's like, what if at the DMV they had a form, and they had a form if you mess that up, a form if you messed that up. And then can you build off of that? Whereas improv sketches, I guess, are more free form or something, but oftentimes they're like super successful improv scenes that do seem to are like sketches because that's just how tight they are, the way that they came out.
Well, and they have that kind of less is more mentality as well, where sketch you're writing about this single premise and improv can get messy so quickly when you start to expand too far outside the bounds of like, but what is this scene about uniquely?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Very recently, I was in a rehearsal or a workshop or something, and there was a really good note given that redirected the scene. But it'd be just a great thing for this podcast right now if I could only remember what it was. Because
well, that'll give you one back. All right, you're back at 3.
I can't remember what it
was. So your return to improv, you took some time off and very seldomly did any improv.
Yeah.
How has the scene changed since you left and came back?
I remember, early on, Randy pulled me aside. We were just talking, and he said he just explained to me that when you started out, that it was all about these groups, the improv groups, the companies, and the companies would have shows at different locations, and over the time. Now it's the location is the center, not the group. So it's Unexpected Productions, it's Jet City, it's Comedy Sports, like that. And he told me how that had changed, and then he also said, and of course when we came up, it was so theater oriented, and now it's more comedy oriented, which is one of the reasons that even though I'm not. There are people who are much more trained actors than I am, but I'm very interested in this Unexpected workshop coming up. What do they call it? Festival Unexpected, which is going to be centered on acting. I want to sign up for that before all the spots are gone. Are you doing it?
I'm certainly hoping to.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So those are two ways that it had changed. I think one thing that was a little bit hard for me to adjust, but then I got to know more and more when I came back is I had been doing it. I'd been, previously when I've been seriously doing improv, I was with a group of people that were like a rock band or something. There were like 6 of us. Yeah. And so, we worked really, really, really well together. And then coming back into a company that has like 50 people in it, it's never going to be the same as that. Yeah. But what was really the blessing for me when I came back in was that happy hour was going, Friday and Saturday. The kind of open happy hour was week after week after week, and I just started.
Our happy hour show was basically just an hour-long short form, sort of beginning before any of our main stage shows or before theater sports, and that was just hour of just open improv games, and there was kind of no bells or whistles except next person brings out a game. We had a host who had open the show, close the show, and it was just simple short form.
Yeah, and that's how I got to know you and so many other company members, and really started to really enjoy working with you all. And there's just something about the simplicity of that format, I think, that really, really appealed to me. And then we do a kind of a medium form. My favorite was carousel. Remember we used to carousel all the time, and it starts out with scene painting and the music, and so it was a very, very much my style kind of thing. So just over, and I did that for quite a few years until COVID. And that's how I got to know all you wonderful UP improvisers, so many cast members. And I remember, I remember when Isaiah came in, when Obadiah came in, and, like that,
Young Bucks.
Young
Bucks. Yeah, that was, and so as we're starting to kind of wrap up the podcast and such, as you're taking a look at the Seattle improv scene and the Pacific Northwest and what improv is, if you could wave a magic wand, or if you could teach the perfect class that all of the right improvisers would take and it would change the improv scene, what is something that you would like to see change in the improv scene, or how the improv scene would grow?
Well, I would,
other than $150 rent in Wallingford, I would like that to change in the improv scene.
That would be good. I would probably, I don't know, I don't want to come across as the old fuddy-duddy or something, but I guess I seriously would call for a return to some of the roots, the theater roots, and also my particular lineage coming out of San Francisco is there's a surrealistic quality to it, and sometimes I think that's resisted or disrespected or considered to be too crazy or trying too hard or something, because it can be done wrong and done poorly, right? Yeah. But I like to think I don't do it that poorly. Some of my best experiences on stage recently have been with Eliza Furmansky in I guess it was a duos, and then when Matt Olson came back for that one thing. So I just remember doing scenes with Matt Olson. It's just, that's one example, and then the other was with Eliza that were just batshit crazy. And what was great about working with both of them is that we would just this surrealism, basically. It's surrealism. It's like all of a sudden, spaghetti is growing out of the shoes or something. It's just stuff that just makes no sense, but it does because it holds together, and the scene holds together, and it's killing too. I mean, both of those scenes killed with the audience, but that's a theater thing. It's going back to absurdist theater, right? And it requires some kind of sense of it to have it work. It's actually not that dissimilar to what we started to do in my example of just coming out on stage and just looking at each other and
just waiting to see what happens.
Waiting to see what happens. So I would call for I guess sometimes I think it's kind of ironic that I'm so into story structure. That's one of my areas of expertise, which is kind of like, what's the structure, and yet advocating for this surrealism or this abstraction. But I think where they both come together is that behind the absurdism and there actually is a structure hidden, and to me that's both the history of improv going back to all the way back to, because what they were doing, originally was pretty imaginative, to say the least. But that's the past and the future, I guess I would say.
Yeah, that makes me think of just going back to this idea of don't deny and like yes and really, like, if you're going to boil it down, like, we could talk about the tenets of surrealism or absurdist theater. Yeah. We could talk about those, but really it is allowing for your honest thought of like a non sequitur to just be present, and knowing that your scene partner isn't going to go, well, that's so weird, and now I don't know what to deal with that. No, they're going to dive in and they're going to say, yes, that's the best offer that we've gotten.
Yes. And then when I work with people that are into the same kind of mindset, they blow my mind, because I will say something wacky, and then they will go to a whole nother level, but it totally fits and works. I'm not really sure why it works, and I think people are afraid of that. And yes, of course, it can be indulgent. And it can be incoherent, and it can totally fail. But there's some principles behind it that I probably don't even quite understand myself. But I'd sure like to, you asked me what would I like to get into? I'd like to get into what is that, and
start to unpack that,
and maybe
Joe Guppy, what a blessing. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for being here.
You bet. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chaz. It was a delight.
Yeah. God, time just flew on by.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for tuning on into another episode of Cascade Improv.
If you'd like to be on the show or you know someone who should be on the show, please email us at cascadeimprovpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or if you disagree with anything that we said, you can also email us in the subject, put fist fight. And both Paul and or I will meet you in a parking lot around 9 p.m. somewhere. And we'll figure out who's right about that improv thing.
Real quick.
Yeah, real quick. We'll figure that out real quick. And if you do want to bring Paul or I out for a workshop or a class, you can also reach on out. We would love to teach a workshop, do a class. And Paul has been working on this, working on a class, which is... his class is using a Yamaha keyboard to program in sounds that your scene partner has made to be able to avoid improvising with them. How do you make your scene partner into a soundboard?
It's really improvising with a sampler.
Yeah.
And, if you're on your own or you need to practice, a $250 keyboard off of Amazon can solve your problem for you real quick.
That's right. Who needs a scene partner when you've got a soundboard?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for...
terrific. I want to take that class.
That's right. Yeah, as we're automating everything in an automated world.
Oh,
yeah.
Too soon.
Oh, whoops. Anyway, all right. Thanks for
listening.
Tuning on in.
Back now. Ooh, yeah.
The Cascade Improv Podcast is produced by Paul Furio and Chaz Kaskas. Musical backing is provided by Anomi Bell, whose music can be found online at anomibell.bandcamp.com.